It was just freedom. It was just freedom to just be with this amazing being that was my best friend. I just keep coming back to the word freedom. The horses have always been just ever present in my life and really became the thing that I grabbed a hold of for dear life when I was a child. They've always been my safe place. The fear is just information. It's there for a reason. And sometimes it's information that says, actually, I can do this. And sometimes it's like, okay, we need to get more prepared. I ended up with about 5 heart horses. I felt like a man with 5 wives. It was like something had opened and I couldn't go back. I will say one of my biggest transformational moments was.
Welcome to another episode of Rebel Roots. Why I love this podcast and why I started this podcast was so that I could meet amazing. I know y'all think that this is a female empowerment, but it's not. I have men on here too. But just to tell such unique stories, because there's so many of us out there that we follow the big million followers and all those big famous people, but it is people that are 3 miles down the road that you just happen to hear their name around a bonfire at night and meet them, and they are doing such cool, epic shit. And I am so happy to have Mary Miller Jordan here, who has, you're going to have to tell me, Mary, again, I am her sanctuary.
Mustang sanctuary.
Yes,
yeah.
Mustangs. And we were supposed to connect about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And she was like, hey, something's come up. I got a calling that I need to go see a Mustang. And I reached back out to her a couple of days later. I'm like, tell me the story or how did this all go about? And you tell me, you're like, well, I just arrived in Colorado. It was a 3-day journey. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that you traveled. I thought you would get them sent to you, but okay. So I can't wait to dive into your story and hear all about it. But I told you right before we started hit record that I love to see how you were as a kid and if there was any tidbits along your story until you got sitting here with me today that you knew this is where you were supposed to be, or there was signs along the way that your path was pulling you here. The universe was giving you all these signs of where you need to be in life currently.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So the horses have always been just ever present in my life. And really became the thing that I grabbed a hold of for dear life when I was a child. My parents divorced when I was 5, and we all have our struggles, and it was what they needed to do. And I'm so blessed that they both love me and were both in my life, but I wanted them together, right? And I wanted to be in control too. I was 5. I was used to kind of running the show for a while. All of a sudden, I'm not running any kind of show. And so the horses just, and my grandfather always had a whole herd of horses. He was a wrangler for bird dog field trials. So he would rent out his horses for people to come ride to follow along on the hunt. So he had these really safe, gentle giants. You ask people about their first, experience with a horse, and you'll get everything from, oh, I was kicked to I got bucked off to, every now and then, oh, I just love them. And a lot of it depends on the horses that were placed in your path. And my grandfather, he called them babysitters. He said you could tie a baby doll on them and they would take care of it. And that's exactly what they did for me. So I literally grew up on the backs of these horses. When I was an infant, before my parents had split up, my mom would put me in front of her. I would fall asleep and they would try to take me off and put me in the dog wagon that would drive along beside, and I would start crying. And then they'd put me back up with my mom on the horse and I'd fall back asleep. So the horses they've always been my safe place. They've been my rocking chair. They've been, and then they became, something that I had a little bit of sovereignty in my life when I was with them, because as I started to ride and hold the reins, I'm like 5 years old, this tiny little thing perched up there on this giant. These were big horses too. My granddaddy's horses were huge, walking horses. And here I am holding the reins, and I, pull one side and they go that way. I mean, it's really empowering for anyone, certainly a small little girl that's world has just kind of gotten turned upside down. And they were always so kind and safe and, I mean, I don't even know that I thought about judgment back then, but I certainly felt it, the energy of it, and just the freedom, just that all loving, just I'm here like a giant tree, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be anything special. You're just loved and held. And then as I grew, I did kind of start to feel special, right? Cause they made me feel like somebody. And because I was spending so much time and energy thinking about them, I mean, I drew them in my notebook when I'm supposed to be, learning stuff in school. I'm looking at my teacher, I'm drawing horses, and I go to sleep and I'm thinking as I go to sleep, I literally drift off to sleep, visualizing riding the horse or doing something. I still do that to this day. I mean, they put me to sleep at night. I wake up, they're already in my mind. They're everything. And so, I have a memory, so many memories, but I have one in particular. There was a pony. My granddaddy bought me a pony when I was about 6 or 7. And he said he had already raised 3 generations of children before he came to me. So this pony's been there, done that. And it was the first time that I kind of was just really turned loose. The big horses I would ride, but the pony, I just got to play. And I would braid the little flowers, the clover flowers, and braid them and make necklaces and weave them into his mane. And I dreamed with that pony. And when I think back I think all of us, if we kind of can go back to that time frame, somewhere between like 8 and 12. It's like you're old enough that you're starting to get in a little bit of groove of who you are. You've been in this world long enough to realize there's a little bit of separation. Like, I think when we're born, we just know we're everything. Like, we're all the things. And then we're like, oh, well, maybe I'm not that. Maybe. And so, but yet we haven't really hit puberty and started to identify so hard with something that we forget that we're everything. So we're in this really beautiful in between of being both everything and something at the same time. And so, for me, I feel like somewhere between 8 and 12, that maybe 10 is the magic number. But, so when I go back to that time frame in my life and I think about what were my dreams then? What occupied just every bit of the places in between my cells, then. And it was that free play with that pony. And it was, yes, the horses became my identity, but that wasn't what it was in that moment, right? It was just freedom. It was just freedom to just be with this amazing being that was my best friend. And I would ride him through the woods and duck the spider webs, sometimes get face planted by the spider webs and pick off the little tiny round spiders, that certain type of spider that would land on my face. And they were my friends too. It was freedom. I just keep coming back to the word freedom, and horses being absolutely the center of it, the thing that carried me to it. And that continued throughout life. But if I had to kind of begin, I guess that's the beginning.
No, I love that. And I've never heard, the Babysitter, because I had a Babysitter too, horse. Yeah. And he was just the best, but my parents would tie a rope to him, that he could go around a circle and eat grass. And they had livestock that they did chores on. And I was like 2, but they would set me on his back. And I would sit there for 2 or 3 hours while they took care of all the animals. And he just would go around the circle eating grass. But he was a babysitter. And obviously I grew up with him because I was 2. And then he passed when I was 16. So wow. He stayed away, and he was just like my best friend growing up too, which
that's so cool.
And, but kind of like my story, a little bit twisted with yours is we just, we've had our farm for 3 years. And I just remember growing up on the farm like that. And I was just could not wait to get away. Like I wasn't the cool kid because I rode horses, and all my friends had the cars. And here I am, galloping on this animal and wanted to get in the city life. I just wanted to be around all that hustle and bustle. And here I am, 40 years later, and I'm back on the farm again with horses.
I love it.
I think the only thing that has changed for me is the fear of being on those large animals because the bones breaking just a little.
Yeah.
Back then I had no fear. Like I just jump on bareback and take off. And I don't know if I could do that at this.
I think that's that beautiful thing though that is meant to be with life. Like the fear is just information and it's there for a reason. And sometimes it's information that says, actually, I can do this and thank you for letting me know, but we're good. And sometimes it's like, okay, we need to get more prepared. And as course, as children, like we're a little bit absent from that, and that can be empowering and create things in our life. And at the same time, I think we're meant to dovetail the two together. Like I love where you're at. There's fear in my body about things, and yet it's that adult aspect that is allowing me to really play with my ultimate child self in ways my child self didn't really have the true freedom to do. So I think it's just kind of amazing how we evolve.
I think it's also kind of cool that almost everyone that I talk to talks about freedom and what that freedom looks like to everyone. It's just, that's what we all are. How did we get here to where we don't all have freedom again? Because we've complicated things so much, but I love that. All right. So a little birdie told me that you have a horse whispering gift and now you're rescuing these Mustangs. How did you go from there to having a sanctuary to, I know you've won some major competitions from the Mustangs and I don't know anything about this. So you got to fill me in on everything.
Yeah. I mean, well, you asked me one question and then I never stop talking. So I'll try to,
no, you talk all you want. I love it.
I can go on and on, but I mean, I think the heart of it, the root of it is really like what I was explaining as a child. The horse was my safe place and they're still my safe place, but I just am so honored and grateful that I get to be a safe place for them now. There's horses that I welcome into our home and heart, and give them a forever home that I would have never been able to support those horses as a child or even, I mean, it's taken the years of dedication to the horse, to learn how to better support the horses that need to be supported. And, one of the biggest reasons that was evolved for me are those early babysitters, that really took care of me when I made mistakes that I didn't know I was making. And I make mistakes now and the horse lets me know, but it's, at a different place now. The Mustang showed up in my life in 2010. So horses had always been my everything. But it kind of turned into the problem horses became like a big part of my life in that they were kind of my job. It turned into, I would be the one that people would call out when they had a horse that they couldn't get on the trailer or, needed to teach the horse to ride and the horse was bucking everybody off, that kind of thing. And that kind of became what I did for a living. I did go to college. I got a chemistry degree. I thought I was going to be a vet because I think a lot of us think, well, and that I didn't end up following that path, and didn't end up really using my chemistry degree, other than I homeschool my girls and it's useful to know stuff for that. But so maybe for that purpose. But the horses just kept saying, hey, we can do this. Like I thought for so long that I needed to, figure out how to make a living so I could do the things I loved. And the horses just kept coming back and saying, hey, but we could do it this way. And so one of those ways was working with people's problem horses. I say in air quotes because, it's never the horse, but then the Mustangs came along and I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of my ultimate horse. I mean, at the time, it's like, wild horse, completely untouched, completely full grown. I mean, we don't think about horses, even a horse that's considered a problem horse, usually you can put a halter on them, you can catch them. But these horses, they don't even know what a halter is. And how do you even begin to go about, teaching a, over 1,000-pound horse that has lived and survived and thrived in the wild. So that was a whole journey. And I did jump into it kind of on the, I was enticed by it also because of these Mustang makeovers. So when I got into it, they were doing what they called the Extreme Mustang Makeover, which was a 100-day wild horse challenge. And they would partner up full-grown, they would take wild horses that were harder to adopt. So not usually the young ones are a little easier. People are more open to taking them in, but your older horses, get passed over a lot. So they would take the older unadoptable horses and partner them with trainers that had applied and been approved. And then we would have 100 days to work with the horse, gentle them, get them riding, get them doing as much as whatever we could get them doing. And then we would do this big competition together. And, it paid a lot of money, to win it. Like the first year that I did it, there was $100,000 to win, 50,000 to the first place. And I was totally convinced that was mine. I was like, I just knew it. I knew it. I knew it in the depths of, I was so certain that I was supposed to do this thing. That doesn't always happen. It's not like every intersection of my life I've just known, but I knew it. So much so that when I got pregnant, I still went forward with it because I was like, this is just what I'm supposed to do. So I guess I'm going to grow a baby and gentle this wild horse. And, so that's what happened with the first wild horse. I was pregnant with my first wild daughter and gentled her, trained her. I will say one of my biggest first transformational moments was when I first stood in the round pen with her. And I had a bit of this feeling that I was going to be entering into a relationship with a being that was kind of a clean slate, she wasn't messed up by humans yet, like the ones the problem horses that I'd been supporting. So therefore, I was going to be able to just mold her and shape her into, whatever I wanted. And I will never forget that feeling of looking at her and just feeling how much she knew. She was no clean slate. There was nothing empty about her. She had so much wisdom. This was at least 7 years old, probably older wild horse that had many babies in the wild. She knew how to search. She knew stuff I didn't know. I hadn't even had a baby. She knew stuff I had no idea about. And it was really surrendering to that and really listening to her. And being pregnant because I had to be so careful. So maybe things that in the past I might have felt like, I can get you to do this thing. I couldn't even go there because I had to be so safe. So it was this perfect kind of alchemical soup of having, this new wild horse experience and being pregnant, which would seem like maybe not the thing to do. But in that case, it really helped me be more present and even better for the horse. And so then did the competitions and have just been blessed with amazing Mustangs that have partnered with me. And
Did you win the competition?
We made finals. We did not win the first one. We made finals and I did not win. So I had basically been hiding myself in the woods while I was gentling this horse pregnant, because while I was totally game for doing it, I was not game for hearing what everybody else thought about it. So I told people I was doing the makeover, but I didn't tell people I was pregnant. I think Erin probably knew, because she was a dear friend, and I can't remember exactly when I told her, but yeah, so I had not taken this horse anywhere, and I was kind of naive. I'm used to doing horse shows where you ride by on the rail and everybody's like, shh, shh, don't spook the horse. And you go to this makeover, and it was a little bit like that during the preliminaries, which we did really well in, but you get into the finals and they're selling beer. I mean, they're putting on a show for the Texans. They don't care if they spook your horse, and so she was terrified. I mean, I literally could feel her heart pounding through the tack. She was, and it broke my heart. I mean, because up until this point, I mean, it felt like a lie. It felt like I had told her she was going to be safe because everything else she had trusted me to do, I had never put her in a situation I couldn't help her through, and I couldn't help her. I mean, nothing went horribly wrong, but she left that pen more afraid than when she walked in. And that is never how you always want that pen to feel like home. You want the middle of that freestyle arena, wherever you're doing a performance, that should feel like home, to safe, secure, and it didn't. And it broke my heart. And so we were in the top 10 going in. We ended up finishing like 17th. And I was honestly heartbroken because I felt like I had lied to her. And so then after that, I majorly shifted gears, had a baby, to be born, and that was a whole other story. But, I don't know if you ever want to do like a birth story series, but holy cow, I can talk about birth stories. Man, that superwoman status entered my body after having that first child. And so, but I knew there was something huge this horse was supposed to do. And so that 1 year, this only happened 1 year in all of history, but there was a reality show created that was kind of like an American Idol, but for horses. And there, 30,000 to win. Again, it was like 100,000 to everybody, but 30,000 to win it. And, this one, there wasn't a crowd. You were just videoed with a camera, and they had celebrity judges. Pat Pirelli came, Lynn Palm, Guy McLean, Monty Roberts, really amazing celebrity judges came, and they watched us navigate natural obstacles that were in this beautiful ranch in Texas. And like this Mustang, she's like, okay, I got this. We got this. So she just aced it. She was amazing. And we didn't have to deal with the crowd because the crowd looked at us through a lens, through a screen, and she ended up winning it. And it just that, and then a series of, that was like a cascade. The domino effect. We did more makeovers with other Mustangs, that went really, really well. She ended up being made into a Breyer model horse, after that win, which was, I didn't even know to dream about that as a child, right?
Yeah.
I played with Breyer models. I never dreamed that I would have a wild horse that would become like a Breyer model. But then more Mustangs. I did more makeovers. We were reserve a couple years. Ended up they started a celebrity makeover thing that they would go back and pull trainers that had done well, and we did their celebrity shows. And basically I ended up with about 5 heart horses, wild horses that I'd done these makeovers with that were just like, I was married to them. Like I felt like a man with 5 wives, or I don't know what that feels like, but like they couldn't go anywhere. We were intimate like this. I could not let, and I thought, what can I do? For one, I can't go back kind of to how life was before. It was like something had opened, and I couldn't go back. And yet, how do you really go forward? Because I also can't just keep accumulating horses and expecting them to win me money. Because that's kind of in part how we got by. We ended up winning like, over the years with the Mustangs, it was over $70,000 that we won, which, we've used that money. I'm not saying we're like, it's all, but that's just unheard of. We don't usually win money with horses, period, much less a wild horse. So they just changed my world. It didn't feel right to now say, okay, I'm done with you. You can go be someone's, trail horse for them. I'm going to sell you. Not that that's wrong, but it wasn't for me. And so I wanted to create something that I could continue to do with them and help others in the way that the horse had so empowered me over the years. And I wanted to be able to take in others. Not all Mustangs get a good start. Some people adopt them, and many times they think they're saving their life, and they end up really making it difficult for that horse to thrive, because what happens in that first time frame of early gentling, it's kind of back to childhood. It's kind of like, the things that happen in childhood, we might not remember them, but they kind of become like a roadmap that we then walk this path on, not even knowing it, unless we become self-aware enough to change things. So it's really important, those early days. And some Mustangs get really confusing early days with humans. And so now we're a sanctuary. So those Mustangs that I have a deep relationship with, that I call wildly gentle, they do things with me. We have wellness programs. We just went up to the hospital New Year's Day with one of the Mustangs and did like a meet and greet. We literally stood in front of the door as the ER doctors and nurses are walking in for third shift. On New Year's Day, they're having to work third shift. And we're just greeting them, and they just get to come say hello to the Mustang and have this moment of connection and peace. And so that's one little, we do a lot of other types of wellness programs. We do on sanctuary events here. We do workshops for team building type things where people come together and the horses support, that process. And we're a space for Mustangs to come and have a space to be safe forever in whatever way that they need it.
So do you still have all 5 of the Mustangs?
Yeah. I don't sell horses anymore. One of them has passed. And they're aging. They're all almost 20. One of them's over 20. One of them is still very active in the things that I do. The other ones, just physically aren't kind of capable of traveling and stuff anymore. And so now I'm building kind of a new team. I have this one that's kind of the bridge between the teams, because I did a lot of stuff with them together, like Mirrored Liberty, and because I just love to do things with all of them.
I love that. So how many horses do you have currently?
There's 26 that the sanctuary cares for. The majority are Mustangs. We have a little Shetland pony rescued Shetland pony herd that came to us during COVID. And they're a part of the sanctuary too, but yeah.
Oh. Your story is so amazing. And then I guess you're in this world now because you get phone calls to rescue the Mustangs. How did your Colorado trip, you just get a phone call and they're like, Mary, we need you. And
that's now, oh man, this is a can of worms right here. I get so many I get way more messages and phone calls than I can describe. And the unfortunate thing is I cannot help the majority of them, because when I help one, it is a lifetime commitment. If they come to me, I'm going to be dedicated for them to stay for life. There have been some that have come and there's been a perfect situation that they could move on to. And if that happens and that feels right, like we've definitely facilitated that, but they could always come back. But we're 35 acres. We're not, a multi-thousand acre ranch in Texas. We're 35 acres in southeastern North Carolina. And, we just have a limit as to how many. So it happens so much, and we take in the ones that we can take. And a lot of it just depends on, the timing and where we're at and the unique needs of that horse. We have one that came to us maybe 5 years ago. And she had been one that I think would have been sounded like she really was easy to gentle in the beginning. Her adopter described her as so easy, but I think because she was, quote, easy, she really didn't get the training that she needed to go on into a home. And when she went on into a different home, it went really south. And then what happens is once trauma happens, we don't remember the warm, sunny day that we were meditating under the tree as powerfully as we do when something tries to kill us or we think something tried to kill us. So when you have that trauma just busts into the brain in a way that they don't really forget. So some of those horses need to stay forever. So this particular horse that you're speaking of, she is one. So to back up just a wee bit, just the wild horses in general, there's over 70,000 wild horses that live on our public lands. And the government, the Bureau of Land Management, is in charge of caring for them, so to speak. And so what they do is they monitor the amount of horses that are on the range, and then they decide how many they need to take off the range so that they don't get overpopulated. And this is a whole other conversation. It's highly controversial. There's also cattle out there grazing, sharing the land. So I won't dive into all that, but I will say that there are almost as many horses in holding as there are in the wild. There's like 50, 60,000 in our holding facilities that have been taken from the wild. They're being cared for, but they're basically on dry lots on, free choice hay in large groups waiting for a home. And so when we are able, when there's one that speaks and feels like, hey, this horse is really calling to come, then, we adopt when we can. And there was one, and again, that would be like a whole other story to talk about her. But yeah, there's a new one. There is a new one that has just come to us. And it was, I'll tell you that it was a handoff from the first one. Our first Mustang was named Lindsay's Faith. She passed away, just before Thanksgiving. And she was in her 20s. Recently, this Thanksgiving. And literally as she passed away, I felt this handoff to say yes to this particular Mustang that you're referring to. And it has been incredible. I traveled out to Colorado to pick her up, and I brought one of our guardian dogs with me and loaded up, and my girls said it was okay. They said they'd be all right with their daddy, and they were. And so I went, and it was an incredible.
You went by yourself with the dog.
I did. I went by myself with the dog. Yeah, I went by myself with my dog, and our truck is an '01. Like all of our trailers and trucks are 2001 was the year. We have a 7.3 Ford diesel, but my husband's like gone through the whole thing, so it's like new inside, but you wouldn't know it looking at it. But still, just hitting the road. But it was incredible, and brought her home. And now I'm a couple weeks into the relationship journey. Oh, she is so much like the first Mustang in the sense that there's so much wisdom in her body. I mean, it is just oozing out of her pores. She knows so much life experience, so many babies you can see from her udders. I mean, so many babies she's had. She is stunning. She is a Dunalino. So she's a Palomino and a Dun. So she's like a really light golden Palomino. And she has a heart as a star, for heaven's sake. Like literally a perfect heart is her star. I mean, she's just inside out. She's like glowing. And I am this time, for the first time, I've always wanted to do this. I've never been able to do this. But they finally, I don't know if this is like this for your farm, but they have run fiber for us all the way out to our farm. So I finally have high-speed internet, which I did not have up until right before Thanksgiving. All of this came together. So I'm actually documenting the whole thing with this new mare, and I'm putting, it's going to be a YouTube series. For now, I'm sharing it within our I Am Heard member and sponsor community as I create the videos. But I'm sharing the whole journey, and she's something else. She is something else.
So, okay. So tell me, when you say she's something else, like what cues that she gives you? I mean, how does she speak to you for you to get all this information?
That's really, I love that question. That's really a lot of what I'm trying to share in these videos, because it's such, I don't even know how to spit that out. There's so many things that we now know the horse does, the ways they're using their eyes, when their lips are just the wee bit tight, when there's a little wrinkle here. Like there's all these things we can see now, but what is beneath all of that is they're individuals just like us. So one horse's tight lip is not necessarily the same as another horse's tight lip. So really there's this process of learning her that I'm just a baby again. I am totally brand new to her. And it doesn't matter how many horses, wild horses I've been helped and supported and learned from over the years. Yes, that is all in there, but I don't know her. I don't know her. And one thing that I found is, like, at first she looked like she was going to be so easy. I even in the first video, oh, this is so ridiculous. I use that, I compare her to what some people will call a cheater Mustang. And it's so funny because you can see her eyeballing me when I say that, like, oh, you just wait, you know?
Yeah.
But she felt, I mean, she just was so chill. She's giving you the majority of the signs a horse gives you when they're really comfortable with you in their space. And, but as we progressed, what I've really learned about her is she's very subtle. So, and she's very smart. So if you think about like how a donkey or a mule thinks, like they're going to think about something and then they're going to act. Most horses, you know, they're a little more, they'll go ahead and act a little quicker. Yeah. She really, her preference, she'll act quicker if she needs to, but her preference is to really think about it. And while she's thinking about it, she looks like you could just go up there and give her a hug. Like she looks so soft and squishy, but she's thinking and she needs that time to think. And so, oh, I mean, it's a whole thing. But I did have one moment where I misread the depth of thought that she was in the midst of. And we had just started developing a new cue, basically asking her to be able to do an inside turn instead of an outside turn. And I asked her for that while it was still kind of fresh in her mind. Therefore, it wasn't super solid yet. And she just wasn't ready for me to ask in that way. And she charged. And I've been charged by Mustangs plenty of times. It's not that uncommon, especially older mares, not usually the boys, the girls. Oh yeah. But I knew that it was in her and we'd been working through it. I thought we'd already kind of worked through it, but I didn't know all that was going on in her mind because she's so subtle. But I've been videoing the whole thing. So, I mean, it's like
You got her charging?
Oh yeah. She got this close and she like stopped just by, you know, the grace of God, the grace of herself, the grace of like going to keep me alive for another day. But now I know that. And so I've shifted a little bit of some of the things, not changed what we're doing, but just kind of creating a little more space for her to really be able to process the information. I also do a lot of positive reinforcement these days, which is kind of like clicker training for dogs. But I'm also not purely that either. So I'm including all of this, and videoing it and sharing it. Cause I feel like that's part of what I am heard. That's part of what our mission is. We are a safe space for horses and for the humans that are drawn for them. But I also want to help people be a safe space for their own horse partners. And if they can learn, it's more of a diary kind of video than it is like a straight up how to, because it's her how-to. It will be a how-to led by Sattva, the Mustang, but that's not going to be exactly the same how-to that another Mustang would guide you to. Yeah.
No, totally understand that. Do you have pet peeves out there? We've been so like, what's your biggest pet peeve when you see, you know, I mean, I'm probably your pet peeve, maybe a little bit, but, you know, like by the horses and, you know, I mean, I guess there's not much. I guess like obviously anything that's mistreated, definitely not tolerating, but what's the common mistake, I guess, maybe you see between a human and horse relationship?
Oh, this is a good question. Okay. I got to dissect into two pieces if I can. Cause when I hear pet peeve, I think about two kind of categories for me. I think about things that trigger me. So things that trigger me, like light me up, you know, piss me off, so to speak. And then I think about things that are just wrong. It's just wrong. Now, the things that are just straight up wrong, they're not as charged for me, right? Because people, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And nobody's out there really, I mean, we really are doing the best we can. I mean, even if we're doing something horrendous, we don't know. So it's like in those cases, it doesn't feel charged because it's almost like innocent kind of, you just don't know. So, and there's a lot of horrible things that can fall under that category that happens and, all the time. So, you know, just kind of a naive type thing. So there's that. but I think for me, when I think about pet peeve, brings up more the trigger part for me. So that's a big one. And oh man, I dive, and I'm diving into that even bigger. Well, always do. But this year, we're still in the year of the snake. We've got like until mid February. We're doing an online series right now for people to join in if they want to, as part of I Am Heard's offerings, but to dive into this. So, but when I say that, because, when I feel a trigger or, pet peeve about something, I'm choosing to go just right to the middle of it. If something triggers me, go right to the middle of it and then look at it and then feel, why is it triggering me? So the things that tend to trigger me, because there's all kinds of stuff people, myself included, can share. It's like we can all be like our own author of our own book and put it out there as if somebody actually would have published it, because we hit post and you get all. And so what I find is when people write something that is very passionately, written and it's all about how this is the way it should be done. And I'm reading it, and it's not that I disagree, but I can't help but see anything anyone says, including me, there's always the flip side. There's always, so anything I say, it's even, and with this horse, like it's only going to be true in that present moment, the way I was that day, the way she was that day, and then 2 seconds later, something else might be true. So, but I think that those are the things that tend to get people excited and, get a lot of clicks and stuff, is when you write something that's really charged and charges other people, because they get that high and mighty feeling. Yeah. But I find I only get the high and mighty feeling about things that are triggers for me, which are triggers for me. It's a button in me. There was something in me they were able to push and get me to react. That's different from the me that can just see something from a place of neutrality and say, this is sad. I'm sad that they don't know what they don't know, but I'm not lit up by it. So I think basically my pet peeves are not about how somebody else is wrong. It's about the opportunity to say, okay, what do I need to do? And for me, what I need to do is I need to share my story. That's what it's been pushing me to do. Because people be writing and sharing all this stuff. And I'm like, but you're not saying this, and you're only saying that, and this isn't true, and it's like, well, am I out there sharing my stuff the way that I would like to share it? Maybe not as honestly as I could be, though. Could I be sharing more authentically? Because that's really my heart, my essence, my soul signature. Like, I want to be living authentically in the world, and I want to share. I want to share things. And that's what I'm doing with this horse. And it's not easy, because sharing that video of her charging me when I misread her to some degree is like kind of throwing myself under the bus.
Yeah. I mean, someone's going to criticize you over that. And
there you go. I'm going to give them the tool. I'm going to give them the fuel for it. Right.
Yep. But I think you touched on something, because again, to be your authentic self is to also show the vulnerability and the mistakes that we make too, because everyone wants to show their authentic self when they're doing everything right and they're the master of everything, right? But that's the true authentic self, is to show the mistakes and to show that we don't know everything. And I think that was perfect how you said that. And just, yeah, I'm like, dang, do I share my mistakes too? And I think I do, but maybe not so much as what you show the other side that you want everyone to love and that you love, but I love that, because authenticness is us showing our vulnerability and our mistakes. I think my pet peeve always too with the horse world is that they always like, this is the only way that it can be done. And that's not true. Mm-hmm. I think exactly how you said both of your Mustangs were different, and all 5 are different. There's always tweaks to someone's exactly how they need to do it. Okay. Maybe saddling's the same, and, whether you saddle the girth or you saddle the backstrap for, like we can, argue about that. But I don't know. I think about all three of my horses, and each one is so unique, and you have to approach them each a different way. And they're like, someone told me the other day, they're like, no, they should all, respect you. And I'm like, they do respect me, but they still, all three of them are a different time of their life to where they need just a little extra, maybe of this, or maybe they don't need so much of that and they need their space and all that. So I love that.
I love that too. And then recognizing that person that said they need to respect you, they have something in their body that makes that feel really important to them. And for them, that is super true and not wrong, cause even you take me and three different horses and it's going to be three different relationships, but you can take the same horse and match them with three different people. And it's also going to be three different relationships because it's really that dash in between the horse and human that's the relationship. And and I think just accepting others as they are. And that's all I'm asking for in sharing the things I want to share. It's just, hey, this is who I am. And, and I love living life. I love the horses. Like, that's all.
Well, which just brings me to my next question because, horse girls, they get stereotyped, right? That a little crazy, a little neurotic, a little unstable. Do you fit all of those, or are you saying
a little rich? I don't fit that one. People think if you have horses, some people, and then if you have horses, they're like, oh, that actually means she has no money. By the way,
correct.
You see all those horses.
Those are non-horse people that assume that.
I have definitely done that to myself over the years. I think it's that whole thing of wanting to, identify with some kind of identity. So we think that we fit in with something so that we're not the one that gets kicked out of the herd and gets eaten because we're all alone. It's just that natural survival thing of just needing to fit in, which I think is the same root of why we have a hard time sharing our vulnerabilities, because in nature, the one that's vulnerable gets eaten, and we are that. We think that we're all up here in the human part of our brain, but we are operating from a very primitive place and of survival and that's the reason we're even here. Like all of those things is how we made it to the bodies we're in today. All that history is in our blood and our DNA and it's still alive in us. So, but I think now, like we have the opportunity to be self-aware when we become self-aware of things, and I'm not self-aware of everything. I'm just aware of the things I'm aware of. What I don't know, I don't know. But when we are self-aware of things, then we can decide, like that fear thing. It's just information. Does this apply? Should I be afraid? I mean, I should be afraid. If I was going to go out there and try to hop on, or even reach out and touch her, I haven't even had a first touch. If I thought I was going to go out there and reach out and touch her, I should be afraid, right? But should I be afraid of the process of getting there? I can rest in that. I know how to help her, and if I get lost, she'll help me find my way. So it's, again, I think it's just information. I think all those triggers and all the pet peeves, and I think it's just information.
So she charged you and you still haven't touched her yet. You haven't.
Yeah. She didn't touch me either, thankfully. Yeah, no, I haven't had a first touch yet. That was kind of the place. So I was thinking that I was getting close to her being ready for that next step. And that was when so basically, as long as I'm about 2 horse lengths from her, we're in a really good place where I can communicate. I mean, she's really doing some really cool Liberty stuff. Inside turns, outside turns. She's drawing, I'm able to do a whole lot, that I wouldn't have necessarily been able to do with domestic horses back in the day. Yeah. But when I get to that point that I'm closer in her bubble, there's just a very clear not past this point yet. And so that's what we are, that's where we're at. And it's okay. Like this isn't a 100-day makeover. I'm not trying to rush her into anything. I have found that the times that I have rushed things, you end up sacrificing something. And it's not to say that slow is faster. It's whatever is inside of the time is what matters, what you're doing. So fast can be fast, slow can be fast, but what matters is what's actually happening inside of her body. And if I get to a point where she's having to tuck herself deeper in to tolerate me, then I'm creating a knot inside of her that we're going to later need to try to unravel. And what I would rather do is recognize when those knots start to form and help them set themselves free before they set up in her body. So I'm glad she let me know so obviously that I need to pay attention. I'm grateful.
So when do you predict that you'll get your first touch? Do you have
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kind of don't care. I mean, if this was the first time I had done it or even early, my first Mustang, I was like, cause I just didn't know how it was going to unfold. And I'm really approaching this with two things. One is, well, I'll say the second thing first, actually. The second thing is I have complete trust in the process. I've done this before with so many horses that have all the aspects that she has. They're not her. I haven't done this with her, but I feel very confident in my ability to get there. And I also know that this is still in the second part, that the things that I'm going to embrace are things that aren't always so embraced, like the positive reinforcement, world can be controversial. Pressure and release, which is your negative reinforcement world, can be controversial. I do both. So I feel confident in that. And I feel like I really desire to approach this with a beginner's mind. Like I want to go into this like I know nothing. I don't want to have any assumptions about her. I just want to be very open and just remember that I may have done this before with other Mustangs, but I've never done this before with her. And as long as she's safe and cared for, which she is, as she is, we can take however long that that it take. I am being consistent. I'm not just like, okay, I'll be back to you next month. I mean, this is an everyday thing. So we're in this together, steady. But yeah, I haven't even thought, I love you said that, because I love that my thought wasn't, okay, I really think it's going to be in, I'm okay.
Yeah, you're just taking it day by day and letting her reading her and letting her do that. But I think it's awesome that, you're taking one of your other Mustangs to the ER and hospital, and then on the flip side, you're getting charged by one that you've only for 2 weeks. So I know that you're going to get there. I was just curious, like, to me, I'd be like, oh, I just want to touch her or, hug her or something. And that would be I think it's pretty cool that you've resisted that, because she hasn't gave you that signal yet to be approachable. So that's pretty cool, because I probably would be like, I just want to give you a hug. I just want to give you kisses, and that's just not where she's at yet.
And I'll make this analogy, knowing that there's going to be some that are like, oh, well, you can't compare horses and humans this way. But I do think this compares, because energetically, energy is energy. I'm sure you felt that's an assumption. I have felt at points in my life where I have had, someone, especially when I was younger, smaller, come up and just give you that hug when you were not asking for a hug. You weren't even asking for a handshake, not even a fist bump, buddy, And yes, this is a horse. This isn't like a little girl that some weird, uncle's over there, but the energy is similar in the same kind of, and, so yeah, I just put that out there.
I felt that way as soon as I moved to North Carolina. Like, it hugged me, I was like, what are you doing in my personal space?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I can totally relate.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, I could go on and talk to you for the rest of the day, but I know I want to be cognizant of your time too. And where can people find this? It's not been released yet on this YouTube diary, but where else can they find you and meet up with you?
Yeah, so I am heard. So we are physically located in Kelly, which is outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. We have people that we're a nonprofit, and we have a member and sponsor group hosted through Patreon. And then we also have a private Facebook group for our Patreons. And you can join for $1 a month. Like, it's not a huge commitment, but honestly, every bit counts. And it's not just the amount, it's your awareness. You know, it's that it is such a gift when you just point your light on something. I mean, that's God energy, right? I mean, you are giving a gift beyond any financial figure. So, it's very accessible, and it's also is just this wonderful safe container that's been created by these amazing people that are there, and the horses, and that's where I share even more openly, and that's where I'm developing, and I'm also dropping just lives in there. So I'm recording everything, and I'm going back through and editing it and talking about different moments, because I don't know that I can expect all of, people just to tune in for literally the hours upon hours of footage. But if you want to, like, I'm popping in live and, doing sessions with her that people can watch in those communities as well. And then we also have, once a month, we do a wild horse teach me gathering here on the sanctuary in person. Last month, Sattva the Mustang was totally the featured Mustang for it, but we do a Mustang meditation, and then we gather, and I just share, really give space for the horse to share what's going on in the present moment. And again, your loving awareness of that is so transformative for her, for the horse, for these Mustangs to feel the presence of humans, something that has eyes that sits close together. Just you're looking at her causes pressure, even if you're looking at her with so much love. So it's altering for her inside in a positive way to feel that from other humans. So it's a gift to the Mustangs when you come. And then we also right now, when will you drop this episode? Will it be within the year will it be before February 17th?
Yes.
Okay. So we're still in the wood snake. Like, everybody's talking about the year of the horse, year of the horse. Like, it is not the year of the horse yet. If it is, I am not ready, right? I got more stuff to shed. So we are in the year of the wood snake still until the Chinese New Year rolls around February 17th. And we're doing an online offering every Thursday, from 6:30 to 7:30. A dear friend of mine that's a meditation guide, a wonderful human. She and I are co-hosting. And I'm bringing some wisdom. The Mustangs are sharing some wisdom each session, and it's live on Zoom. There's opportunity to reflect, and then we share the recordings. And we just had one last night, and it was it was incredible. I mean, I'm very much more participant than co-host, but it's meant to be, an offering through I Am Heard to support us in being a safe space for ourselves, because we can't be a safe space for the horses or for one another until we're a safe space for ourselves.
I could not agree. I'm going to share all this information. It will be down in the comments if you missed any of this. And it was amazing to talk to you. And I'm so glad we finally got to connect, and totally understand why you blew me off for the Mustang. But
apologize. You got to come meet her. You will love her.
I am. I'm out there this weekend. So
yay.